Rain hammered against the iron gates like 1,000 desperate fists as Sina stumbled forward, clutching her newborn to her chest. Her clothes were drenched, her lips trembling, her breath breaking in the icy night air. The mansion looming behind the gates glowed like another world, bright, warm, untouchable. She wasn't supposed to be here. A poor mother like her had no place near the home of Barack Mufasa, the most feared and unreachable billionaire in the city. Yet tonight, desperation drowned every boundary. "Please, please, I beg you," she whispered, voice cracking, as the security guards pushed her back. Little Tendo whimpered weakly, the sound slicing straight through the storm. The gates suddenly clicked. The guards stiffened. A tall figure stepped out of the shadowed entryway, Barack himself. His eyes were cold, impatient, until they drifted downward, landing on the baby's face. His entire body froze. The color drained from his expression. It felt as if the world collapsed around him. Where did you get that child?" he whispered. "If you're watching this right now, tell us your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing our global family gathered together. And if you enjoy emotional African folktale dramas, feel free to subscribe so you never miss a new story." Sina never imagined her life would lead her to the gates of a billionaire, soaked to the bone, gripping her baby, as if the world wanted to tear him away. Hours before she arrived at Barack Mufasa's mansion, her world had already been crumbling, piece by piece, slowly, painfully, mercilessly. Her day had begun in the cramped one-room shack she rented from an old widow behind the marketplace. The roof leaked when it rained, the mattress sagged like wet bread, and the cracked window never fully closed. But it was all she could afford after losing her job at the clothing stall. The owner had accused her of stealing, an accusation she knew came from jealousy and spite, because customers always preferred to buy from her. But a poor woman's truth rarely stood a chance against a rich woman's lie. Without evidence to defend herself, Sina was pushed out and her salary withheld. She remembered clutching baby Tendo that afternoon, whispering apologies to him as he cried from hunger. The last tin of powdered milk was already empty. She shook it desperately, hoping for one more spoonful, but nothing came out, only a hollow sound that echoed her fear. She had tried boiling porridge until it was thin enough for him to swallow, but he winced and cried harder, rejecting it. She had never felt more helpless. As dusk approached, the landlord knocked aggressively on her door. The widow's face was severe and tight with frustration. "Sina, I'm sorry," she said, though she did not sound sorry at all. "You owe for 2 weeks already. You must leave tonight. I have other tenants ready." "Please, Mama Leia," Sina begged, trembling. "Just 2 more days. Tendo hasn't eaten. I'm trying to find work." "Please, 2 days won't change anything," the woman snapped. "Pack your things. I can't feed you and your child for free." The door shut in her face before she could say another word. By the time Sina stepped out into the evening cold with all her belongings shoved into one torn bag, her heart felt like shattered glass. The streetlights flickered. People rushed past, indifferent to her small tragedy. Tendo whimpered weakly, a sound so tiny, yet so heavy that it pulled tears from her eyes. She found herself walking aimlessly toward the market, then toward the bus station, then back again. She had nowhere to go, no one to call. Tendo's father, Ekon, had abandoned her long before the baby took his first breath. He had always been unpredictable, disappearing for weeks, returning with strange bruises, making vague excuses. But back then, she loved him so intensely that she believed every lie he fed her. Until the night everything changed. She remembered it clearly, Ekon rushing into her small room, tossing clothes into a bag, with shaking hands, sweat dripping from his forehead. "I have to leave," he whispered urgently. "Just trust me, Sina." "Why? What's happening? Are you in trouble?" she cried, blocking the door. He cupped her face with trembling hands. "If anything ever happens to me, if you're ever in danger, take our baby and go to Barack Mufasa." She had never heard the name before. "Who is Barack? Why would he help me?" Ekon's eyes flickered with something between fear and guilt. "He owes me, and if he refuses, show him the child. He'll understand." Before she could ask more, he kissed her forehead and disappeared into the night forever. For months, she tried to forget his cryptic warning. She told herself Barack wouldn't even know who she was. She convinced herself that she could raise Tendo alone. But as the poverty tightened around her neck and Tendo grew weaker, she began to cling to that last thread of hope. And today, that hope led her to the richest man in the city. Her legs trembled as she walked the long road toward Barack's estate. The sky darkened. A storm gathered above her, mocking her desperation. By the time she reached the towering gates of the mansion, thunder cracked violently as if warning her to go back. But she couldn't, not when Tendo's breathing had grown shallow. Not when she was sure he wouldn't survive another night without help. Please, please, she whispered at the gate, banging with whatever strength she had left. 2 guards emerged, their eyes cold and suspicious. One pointed a flashlight at her face. You can't be here. Leave immediately. I need to see Barack, she pleaded. It's about my child. His name was mentioned by, we don't care who mentioned him, the guard snapped. He's not meeting anyone like you. Move away from the gate or we'll call the police. Her heart broke. She felt humiliation curl inside her chest like a burning coal. But before she could step back, Tendo let out a weak cry, a soft, breathy sound of pain. Sina's strength faltered her knees, almost giving out. Thunder exploded overhead, but it wasn't as loud as the sound of the gate unlocking behind the guards. Senna blinked in confusion. Then a man stepped out from behind the shimmering golden lights of the mansion's entryway. Tall, imposing, eyes sharp enough to cut stone, Barack Mufasa. His presence was suffocating. He walked with the authority of someone used to owning everything he touched. His expression was cold distant until his gaze fell on Tendo. At first something like annoyance flickered in his eyes, then confusion, then horror. He moved closer, ignoring the guard's attempts to speak. What is this? He breathed, staring at the infant. Sina swallowed hard. This is my son. Please, sir. He's very sick. I just need help. Barack didn't look at her. He looked only at Tendo. Or rather, at the small birthmark on the baby's cheek. His lips parted slightly. His chest rose sharply like he had forgotten how to breathe. His hand trembled, a strange sight for a man known for his iron composure. No, he whispered. Impossible. Sina stepped back, suddenly afraid. Sir, do you know something? But Barack didn't answer her. Instead, he turned sharply to the guards. Open the gate. Now. Sir, we don't know if now. Barack thundered voice, shaking the air. The guards scrambled to obey. Senna stood frozen as the gate slowly swung open, revealing the glowing path that led into the mansion, warm and bright, like a different universe. Barack approached her again, his eyes never leaving Tendo's face. You, he whispered, voice tight. Come inside. Immediately. Sina clutched her baby closer, unsure whether she was stepping into salvation or a new nightmare. The warm air inside Barack Mufasa's mansion hit Senna like a shock. After hours of walking through cold rain, stepping into a world filled with marble floors, golden chandeliers, and silent hallways felt unreal, intimidating, even suffocating. She tightened her grip on Tendo, unsure whether she should run or collapse. The guards who had pushed her away moments earlier now stood stiff and obedient as Barack led her inside with rapid, purposeful steps. Bring towels. Warm blankets. Call the in-house doctor immediately, Barack ordered, his voice cold but shaking at the edges. The household staff rushed to obey, eyes wide with confusion. A dripping, trembling mother and her infant didn't belong in a place like this. But none of them dared question Barack, not tonight. Sina was escorted into a spacious sitting room, her wet clothes leaving puddles on the polished floor. She stood awkwardly near the edge of a velvet sofa, terrified she might stain it. Barack finally turned toward her, jaw-clenched eyes fixed on Tendo. What is your name? He asked quietly. Sina, she whispered, hugging Tendo protectively. And the child, Tendo, my son. A strange look flashed through Barack's eyes, pain, disbelief, fear, so quickly that Sina wondered if she imagined it. The staff returned with blankets and towels. Sina allowed them to wrap Tendo in warm cloth, though she kept her arms firmly around him. Barack dismissed everyone but one man who entered the room with calm precision. Tall, neatly dressed in a charcoal suit with a subtle gray tie. Intelligent eyes, steady posture, Hamal Barack said. We need to talk. The man nodded. I came as soon as I heard something unusual was happening. Hamal's gaze moved to Senna, then the child. His expression remained unreadable, but his voice softened. Ma'am, are you hurt? Sina shook her head, though she felt lightheaded. It's my son. He hasn't eaten properly in days. I didn't know what else to do. Barack's jaw tightened. You said something earlier. That someone mentioned me to you. Yes, Sina whispered, hesitating. The baby's father. Hamal's brow raised slightly. Barack's expression darkened. Sina swallowed hard. His name was Ekon. For the first time, Barack's mask cracked. A muscle in his cheek twitched. His eyes widened only slightly, but enough for Hamal to glance at him sharply. After a long, heavy silence, Barack spoke. Tell me everything. Sina wasn't sure how much to reveal, but she needed help. For Tendo. For the life she was losing grip on. So she told them. She described meeting Econ when she worked at the market. How charming he was, how troubled, how he disappeared, often returning with cuts and bruises he refused to explain. How he became terrified during the months before she gave birth. How one night he fled in panic, leaving her alone with only that single instruction: if anything happens, go to Barack Mufasa. Barack listened with an expression that grew colder and more distant with every word. When she finished, he was silent for so long that Senna feared she had said something terribly wrong. Finally, Barack spoke, his voice low and hollow. You said Econ disappeared? Yes. You haven't seen him since the night he left, he pressed. No. I thought he ran away. Or maybe... Her voice broke. Maybe something bad happened. Barack closed his eyes briefly, as if battling something inside himself. Then he turned to Hamal. Find out everything about Econ. Where he was last seen. Who he was working for. I want every detail, immediately. Hamal nodded. I'll begin now. As the assistant hurried out, Senna stepped forward timidly. Sir, I didn't come here to cause trouble. I only need help for my son. If this is too much, Barack interrupted, pointing at the sofa. You're not going anywhere until the child is examined. Sina hesitated, then slowly sat down. Her soaked dress clung to her skin, and her hands shook from exhaustion. The room was warm, but fear still chilled her bones. Barack remained standing, pacing back and forth like a man trying to restrain an explosion. What did Econ tell you about me? He suddenly asked. Nothing, Sina whispered. Only your name. Nothing at all. Not how he knew me, she shook her head. Barack cursed under his breath, a soft, sharp sound she had never imagined a billionaire would make in front of a stranger. Silence settled between them again, thick with tension. After several minutes, the mansion doctor arrived, a gentleman with kind eyes. He checked Tendo, carefully examining his breathing, heartbeat, temperature. He's weak, the doctor said. Malnourished. But he's still fighting. He needs milk and warm fluids immediately. And rest. A lot of rest. Sina exhaled, shakily, tears slipping down her cheeks. Thank you. Thank you so much. Barack didn't look at her. His eyes were still locked on Tendo. What is that mark on his cheek? He asked quietly. Sina touched the tiny birthmark. He was born with it. The doctor at the community clinic said it's harmless. Barack's breathing hitched so subtly that Sina almost missed it. But she didn't miss the look in his eyes, a haunted recognition. Have you seen it before? She asked in a trembling voice. Barack didn't answer. Moments later, Hamal returned, breathing slightly heavier than before, clear evidence he'd been moving fast. I found something, he announced. Barack's eyes snapped toward him. Tell me. Hamal hesitated. For the first time since Sina met him, he looked uncomfortable. Econ used to work for Cairo, Hamal said quietly. Barack froze. My brother. Yes. As a private courier. Off the record. Paid in cash. No official documents. Barack's expression turned sharp with fury. Hamal continued. He disappeared 2 months ago after an alleged accident, but the report filed doesn't add up. It was closed too quickly. And Cairo never mentioned him again. Sina's heart dropped. Accident. Was he killed? We don't know, Hamal said gently, but someone wanted the case buried. Barack ran a hand across his face, a rare display of helplessness. Why? Sina whispered, voice shaking. Why would your brother be involved with him? Barack didn't answer. His eyes were distant, stormy, full of ghosts. Finally, he turned to the doctor. Prepare a guest room for them. They will stay here tonight. Sina's eyes widened. Sir, I don't want to be a burden. You will stay, Barack repeated firmly. Until I understand what is going on. His voice softened just barely. And until your child is safe. Sina swallowed hard. Thank you. Truly. Barack didn't respond. He just stared at Tendo again, his expression unreadable, haunted, even. As the doctor carried Tendo to a warming station and Sina followed close behind, Hamal leaned toward Barack and whispered, Sir, you recognized something, didn't you? Barack didn't answer at first. Then, with a voice that trembled ever so slightly, he murmured, That birthmark. It's identical to the one my son had. Hamal's eyes widened. Barack's breathing grew shallow. Run the DNA, quietly. No one can know before I do. Hamal nodded. And Barack stood frozen in the center of his own mansion, staring down the hallway, where Sina had disappeared, feeling the past he tried so hard to bury rising from the dead. Barack Mufasa stood alone in the vast sitting room long after Sina and the baby had been taken to the guest quarters. Rain pounded the windows like a relentless drum, each strike echoing the chaos rising in his chest. The chandelier above him swayed subtly in the storm, winds its crystals scattering pale light across the marble floor, yet none of it warmed him. He had faced hostile takeovers, political attacks, assassinations of character attempts on his life. But nothing unsettled him the way that tiny birthmark on Tendo's cheek had, a small, swirl-shaped mark, almost identical to the one his own son had once carried. A mark Barack prayed daily he would forget but could not. A mark lowered into the grave 13 years ago. His breath trembled. He hadn't spoken his son's name out loud in years. Not since the night everything fell apart. His marriage, his family, his sense of identity. The night he made the decision that would haunt him forever. A soft knock broke his spiraling thoughts. Hamal stepped back into the room, closing the door behind him. His face was serious, his tie slightly loosened, a rare sign that he was equally shaken. The samples have been sent to 3 separate labs, he said quietly. 1 here in the city, 2 in different regions. Results will come by morning. Barack nodded, but his voice was hoarse when he asked, "Did anyone see you?" "No, sir. I handled everything personally." Silence stretched between them. The storm outside grew harsher. Hamal hesitated before speaking again. "Barack, if the child is who you suspect..." Barack raised a hand sharply. "Don't finish that sentence." "Someone needs to," Hamal replied gently. "Not for the company, for you." Barack turned away, unable to meet his assistant's eyes. When Ekan disappeared, Hamal continued softly, "You didn't ask questions. You didn't look for him. You told me never to mention him again." But now Barack snapped. "I said stop." Hamal stepped back, giving him space. "Yes, sir, but the damage was done." The name Barack wanted to avoid thinking about now burned in his mind. Ekan, his estranged son, not by love, but by blood. Born before his marriage, conceived in a moment of weakness during a time of reckless youth and selfish choices. A child he abandoned before the boy ever learned to speak. A decision he justified then, but regretted every single day after tragedy took his legitimate family away. He never told anyone, not even his late wife. And now, after all these years, a woman he'd never met walked to his gate carrying a child whose face mirrored the past. He sunk into the nearest chair. Hamal find out everything about Ekan's last months. Every place he worked. Every person he met. Every risk he took. "I want the truth. All of it." Hamal nodded and left. Barack remained in the chair, staring into the storm, feeling it swallow him whole. Upstairs, Sina paced the guest room with small, nervous steps. The space was larger than her entire previous home. Thick rugs muffled her footsteps. The bed was soft, clean, impossibly white. She felt unworthy of touching anything. Tendo lay sleeping on the warm mattress, his breathing more steady now. The doctor had fed him warm formula and assured her he was out of immediate danger. But the fear in her heart had not eased. She hovered beside the bed, brushing a gentle finger across her son's cheek. "My love," she whispered, tears filling her eyes. "I don't know what's happening, but I'm scared." Images flashed through her mind, Ekan rushing out of her room that night, the panic in his eyes, the unheard truth trapped in his last sentence. Go to Barack Mufasa. Why? Why would a billionaire care about Ekan? Why had Barack's face turned pale when he saw her son? She replayed the moment at the gate, Barack's expression shifting from irritation to disbelief to horror. What had he seen? What had he recognized? Her heart pounded. "Are you connected to him?" she whispered to her baby. "Is that why you look so much like—" She stopped herself. She wasn't allowed even to think of such things. Ekan had been poor. She had seen his childhood scars, his hunger, the struggles he'd fought through. He had never mentioned being a relative or even an acquaintance of a billionaire. So why would Barack care now? Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock. She straightened immediately, clutching Tendo protectively. The door opened slightly, and the mansion doctor peeked in. "Just checking on you," he said kindly. "Try to rest. The child is stable." She nodded, though she knew sleep was impossible. When the doctor left, Sina sat beside Tendo and stroked his tiny fingers. "Whatever happens tomorrow," she whispered, voice trembling, "I will protect you, even if it means leaving this place tonight." But deep in her chest, she knew she couldn't leave. Not yet. Not when the only thread connecting her child's survival was the man pacing below the grand staircase like a trapped lion. Meanwhile, in his private study, Barack opened a small, locked drawer beneath his desk. His hands shook as he retrieved a faded photograph. The edges were bent from years of handling, though he hadn't dared look at it in so long. In the picture, a small boy, no older than 5, grinned up at him. His curly hair fell across his forehead, his cheeks dimpling, and on his left cheek, the same swirl-shaped birthmark. Barack touched the photo gently as if stroking the boy's face. "Econ?" he whispered. He remembered the day the child's mother brought him to the company headquarters, furious, demanding help. He refused responsibility. He had been younger than arrogant, married to a woman he worshipped. He told himself he was doing the right thing for his marriage, for his reputation. He sent them away. He never saw the boy again until Econ turned 18, standing outside a business conference room, waiting to meet the man he was told was his father, they argued. Barack rejected him again. That night, Econ left in rage. Days later, he vanished. And Barack spent years pretending the guilt wasn't killing him. Hamal's voice echoed in his mind. "If the child is who you suspect..." No, it wasn't possible. But the birthmark, the face, the timing, his heart thudded painfully. There was only one way to know. He clenched his fist around the photograph and whispered, "If you are truly my grandson, God help me." Hours passed. Midnight turned to dawn. The storm faded, and just as the first light of day seeped through the mansion windows, Hamal entered the study with 3 sealed envelopes. Barack stood immediately. "Tell me." Hamal's eyes showed the answer before he spoke. "Sir, the DNA results from all 3 labs match." The child Barack grabbed the papers with trembling hands. His eyes scanned the words. Probability of relationship 99, 87%. Conclusion: child is a direct blood relative of Barack Mufasa. He lowered the paper, slowly, breathing unsteady. Barack. Hamal whispered, "He's your grandson." Barack staggered back, almost losing balance. A sob tore from his throat, raw, broken, unrestrained. He covered his face with both hands, shoulders shaking, years of guilt, burying his past, rejecting his own flesh and blood, losing everyone he loved. It all crashed into him like a collapsing world. "My grandson," he choked, "and I didn't even know." Tears fell freely, something even Hamal had never seen in all their years together. After a long, trembling moment, Barack wiped his face and steadied himself. "Bring Sina here," he said quietly. "I need to tell her everything." Hamal nodded and left. Barack stood alone again, but this time a different storm raged inside him. This one wasn't made of rain, it was made of regret, and the desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, he could fix what he had destroyed. Sina didn't sleep. She couldn't. Dawn's pale light filtered into the guest room, painting soft gold across the blankets where Tendo lay breathing peacefully. Sina sat beside him with swollen eyes, her mind spinning with questions, each one sharp enough to cut her from the inside out. Why did Barack react like that? Why did he look at Tendo as if seeing a ghost? And what truth waited behind his storm-filled eyes? She squeezed her hands together until her knuckles whitened. "Whatever happens," she whispered to her son, "I won't let them take you from me." Her voice cracked. The thought alone made her tremble. A gentle knock pulled her from her spiraling thoughts. The door opened and Hamal stepped inside, his expression serious but not unkind. "Miss Sina," he said softly, "Mr. Barack wishes to see you." Her stomach tightened. Is something wrong?" Hamal hesitated, studying her face. "There are things he needs to explain, and things you deserve to hear." Sina gathered Tendo into her arms, his small body warm against her chest. She followed Hamal through the long mansion corridor, each chandelier, each painting, each polished marble tile, reinforcing how out of place she was in this world. When they reached Barack's private study, Hamal opened the door and stepped aside. "Go in," he said quietly. Sina walked inside. Barack stood near the tall window, sunlight outlining him like a golden silhouette. But his shoulders were tense, his posture rigid. When he turned toward her, his eyes were red-rimmed, not from anger, but from something heavier, deeper, older. "Sina," he said, voice low, "sit, please." She obeyed cautiously, clutching Tendo closer as she lowered herself into a leather chair. Barack sat across from her elbows, resting on his knees, hands clasped tightly as if bracing himself for impact. For several moments he said nothing. Then he whispered, "I have the results." Sina froze. "Results," she repeated. "What? What results?" Barack inhaled slowly, painfully. "The DNA test." Her heart slammed into her ribs. "You tested my son, I had to," Barack said, though there was no coldness in his tone anymore, only torment. "Because when I saw him, something inside me broke, something I buried a long time ago." Sina stared at him, breath shallow. What are you saying? Barak swallowed hard. Sina, your son is my blood. The room tilted under her. She nearly dropped Tendo, but her arms tightened reflexively around him. No, she whispered. You must be mistaken. He shook his head. 3 labs confirmed it. But how? I've never met you in my life. You never met me, Barak agreed softly. But Ekon did. Sina's pulse quickened, confusion clouding her mind. Ekon, how could he know you a billionaire? He was poor. He never had family. He never mentioned. Barak cut her off gently. Ekon was my son. The world stopped. Sina blinked. Once. Twice. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Her breath shook. That's not possible, she whispered. Ekon never. He didn't. He would have told me. Barak looked away, shame carving deep lines into his face. He hated me, Sina. With reason. I wasn't in his life. I wasn't the father he needed. By the time he was old enough to confront me, I pushed him away again. Each sentence landed like a blow. Sina shook her head wildly. No, you're lying. I wish I were. Silence swallowed the room. Sina felt her pulse in her throat, her fingertips, her skull. Every memory she had of Ekon, his secrets, his guilt, his fear now, snapped together like vicious puzzle pieces. The nights he returned bruised. The times he almost confessed something but swallowed the words. His final frantic sentence, if anything happens to me, go to Barak Mufasa. He owes me. Her breathing grew rapid. She stood abruptly. You expect me to believe this? You expect me to think that a billionaire would turn away his own son? Barak closed his eyes, voice breaking. I expect you to know I regret it every day of my life. Her anger froze. Barak looked up, tears trembling in his eyes. You think I'm made of stone? I lost my wife. I lost my daughter. And before that, I threw away the only son I had, because I was stupid, proud, trying to protect the image my world demanded of me instead of protecting the child that needed me. He pressed a hand over his eyes, and now he's gone. And I will never make it right with him. Sina's heart twisted painfully. She sank slowly back into the chair, overwhelmed by a grief that wasn't hers but suddenly felt too close. Ekon is dead, she whispered. Barak nodded. I confirmed it this morning. The accident wasn't just a rumor. Sina felt the ground crumble beneath her. She pressed her forehead against Tendo's head, sobbing softly. He should have told me. He should have told me the truth. Barak's voice softened unbearably. He might have tried, but fear can silence even the bravest. The room fell silent again, but not cold. The space between them was filled with something fragile, something broken that belonged to both of them now. Finally, Barak cleared his throat. Sina, Tendo is my grandson. The only living piece of my son. The only family I have left. Sina stiffened, instinctively drawing Tendo closer as if shielding him. I won't let you take him, she whispered fiercely. I may be poor, but he's mine. Mine to protect. Mine to raise. Barak lifted a hand quickly. I'm not taking him from you. Sina's breath wavered. You're not. No, Barak said firmly. Not unless you wanted that. I just want to know him. To keep him safe. To give him everything I failed to give Ekon. Sina stared at him, unsure whether to trust him. Barak leaned forward. The people responsible for Ekon's disappearance are still out there. My brother was involved. And he will come after the child if he learns the truth. Ice shot through Sina's veins. Cairo, she whispered. Yes, he used Ekon. And when Ekon became a threat, he made him disappear. Sina's eyes widened with terror. You mean, he might come for Tendo? Barak nodded gravely. That's why you cannot leave this house. Not now. Not until I deal with Cairo. Here he is protected. Sina held Tendo tighter. Barak's voice dropped to a rough whisper. Let me protect him, Sina. Let me protect both of you. I couldn't save Ekon, but I can save his son. The sincerity in his voice shattered something inside her defenses. But before she could respond, the door burst open. A servant rushed in, face pale. Sir, Mr. Cairo is at the gate. He's demanding to speak with you. Barak's eyes narrowed, darkening like a brewing storm. He knows, Barak muttered. He must have heard something. Sina's heartbeat thundered in her ears. Barak rose to his full height, something fierce awakening inside him. Hamal, he barked, take Sina and the baby to the inner quarters. Guard them with your life. No one enters that wing, not even my brother. Hamal grabbed Sina's arm gently. Come, quickly. As she was rushed out of the room, Sina stole a final glance back. Barak stood in the center of his study, jaw, clenched shoulders squared, a man preparing to face a monster he helped create, a man who just discovered he had something worth dying for. Hamal led Sina quickly down a side corridor, his steps brisk but controlled. The mansion, which had seemed intimidating before now, felt like a labyrinth closing in on her. The chandeliers, the tall portraits, the endless carpeted halls, all of it blurred as she clutched Tendo and followed the only person she could trust in that moment. "Where are we going?" Sina whispered urgently. "To the inner wing," Hamal replied. "Only Barak and I have access. Not even the rest of the staff knows what's behind these doors." His calm voice steadied her slightly, but fear still clawed at her throat. Behind them down the long hallway she could hear the distant murmur of men's voices, one deep and cold like steel, scraping against stone. Cairo. She didn't know the man, but she knew danger when she felt it. It soaked through the air like a chill. Hamal reached a reinforced door hidden behind a large painting. He pressed his thumb to a biometric scanner. A soft beep sounded, followed by heavy internal bolts unlocking. "Hurry," he urged. Sena stepped inside. The room was surprisingly warm, decorated in earthy tones, calming safe. It didn't match the cold extravagance of the rest of the mansion. It felt lived in, almost like a sanctuary. "You'll be safe here," Hamal said. "Do not open the door for anyone, not even if they say Barak sent them." Her heart pounded. "But what if Barak needs help? He can handle himself," Hamal said quietly. "He's prepared for this." She swallowed hard. "And Cairo, what is he like?" Hamal paused. His jaw tightened. "Cairo Mufasa is everything Barak is not. Greedy, ruthless, manipulative. Where Barak built an empire to prove himself worthy, Cairo feels the world owes him one." Sena hugged Tendo closer. "Why would he hurt Ekon? He barely knew him, didn't he?" Hamal exhaled. "He knew Ekon was Barak's son." Sena's breath hitched, and he knew the boy was the one thing Barak regretted deeply, which means he was a threat to Cairo's plans. If Barak ever accepted Ekon, the inheritance lines could shift. Influence could shift. Cairo couldn't allow that. Sena felt sick. And now Hamal continued looking at Tendo with a mixture of sorrow and resolve. If Cairo realizes this child is Ekon's son, he will see him as the same threat. Sena's knees weakened and she dropped into a nearby chair. "So he would hurt my baby?" "Yes," Hamal said without hesitation. Without remorse, tears overflowed before she could stop them. She bent over Tendo, shielding him with her body. "Why is everything connected to this family so dangerous?" she whispered shakily. Hamal softened slightly. "Not everything, just the parts poisoned by power." He moved to the door, preparing to leave her hidden. "I'll be nearby," he said. "Barak is confronting Cairo now. Whatever happens, stay silent. Stay hidden." Sena nodded, though fear threatened to choke her. As the door shut and locked behind Hamal, she pressed her forehead to Tendo's and whispered, "I won't let darkness touch you. Not ever." Downstairs, Barak walked toward the main foyer with deliberate steps. Storm clouds filled his eyes even though dawn's light streamed through the high windows. His heart beat with a quiet fury he hadn't felt in years, not even during corporate betrayals, political storms, or personal tragedies. This was different. This was blood. Cairo stood in the foyer like he owned the place, wearing an immaculate navy suit and a smirk that made Barak's skin crawl. Two men flanked him, bodyguards, though he pretended they were assistants. "Brother," Cairo said with feigned warmth. "You look tense." "Bad night." Barak didn't dignify that with a response. "Why are you here, Cairo?" Cairo spread his hands innocently. "Why can't I visit my own brother?" "You've never visited without wanting something," Barak replied coldly. "So drop the act." Cairo's smile curdled. "Fine. I'll be direct. I heard you had unexpected company last night." Barak's eyes narrowed, voice dropping into a deep warning tone. "Who told you?" Cairo shrugged. "People talk, especially when they're afraid of losing their jobs." He stepped closer. "Word is a woman arrived here in the storm. With a baby." Barak's jaw twitched. Cairo smirked. "You always despised loose ends, brother. But now you're entertaining strays, letting beggars inside." Barak took a slow, threatening breath. "Be careful." "Oh, come on," Cairo taunted. "Is this child special? Is he from a woman you've been entertaining? Or more interestingly," his eyes glinted with malice, "could he be related to someone else you once threw away?" Thunder cracked in Barak's chest. "So you know," Barak said quietly. Cairo tilted his head. "I know you had a bastard son, one you hid from the world, one you hoped would stay dead and forgotten. But secrets rot, Barak. And yours smells stronger every year. Barack stepped closer until they were nose to nose. You talk about Econ like he was trash. But he was a boy who wanted acceptance, and you used him. Cairo rolled his eyes. He was weak, emotional, desperate to belong, perfect for doing dirty work. Barack's breath froze. You sent him into dangerous jobs. I sent him on one job, Cairo corrected calmly, and he failed. So I cleaned up the mess. Barack's vision blurred with rage. Cleaned up. You killed him. Cairo didn't deny it. People like him, he said coldly, don't deserve a place in our world. A sound broke from Barack, half roar, half sob, and he lunged. For a moment the mansion exploded into chaos. Barack slammed Cairo against a marble column forearm, crushing against his throat. Cairo's guards reached for their weapons, but barrack security, who had been silently watching from the shadows, intervened swiftly, disarming them and pinning them to the ground. You took my son from me, Barack growled, his voice cracking. My only son. Cairo's smirk faltered for the first time. He was nothing but a liability. Barack's fist tightened. And now Cairo hissed, voice strained from the pressure on his windpipe. You have a baby upstairs that could ruin everything I've built. If he survives. Barack's entire body froze. Cairo saw the flicker and seized it. Oh yes, he whispered. I know what you're hiding. I know what that child means. And if you think I'll let you replace me with another bastard, Barack slammed him harder into the pillar, fury radiating from every muscle. You will not touch him, Barack said, voice low and deadly. You will never go near that baby. Or his mother. Cairo sneered. You can't protect them. Not forever. Barack leaned in voice like the growl of a wounded beast. Watch me. Cairo's eyes flared with malice. This isn't over. Barack released him abruptly, letting him stumble. Security immediately seized Cairo and his men, dragging them toward the exit. As of today, Barack commanded, you are banned from my home, my company, and my life. Go near Sina or the child, and I will destroy you. Cairo spat on the floor. We'll see, brother, we'll see. He was dragged out, screaming threats that echoed through the marble halls long after he disappeared. Barack stumbled back into his study chest, heaving hands, shaking uncontrollably. The confrontation had drained him emotionally, physically, spiritually. Hamal rushed in. Are you hurt? No, Barack whispered. But he knows. Hamal's face paled. Then we must move fast. Barack nodded, forcing strength back into his voice. We need to keep them hidden, increase security, lock down the estate. And Sina, Hamal asked. Barack closed his eyes. Sina, he murmured, needs to know the danger is very real. Upstairs, Sina jumped when the inner door opened and Barack entered alone. He looked older, exhausted, but determined. Is he gone? She asked. For now, Barack replied, but this won't be the last time he comes. Sina tightened her hold on Tendo. What do we do? Barack approached her slowly, his voice softer than she had ever heard it. We fight back, he said, together. For Econ, for Tendo, for the family that should have been, and the one we can still protect. Sina stared into his eyes, and this time she didn't see a billionaire. She saw a broken father, a grieving man, a grandfather willing to burn the world to save her child. And she realized they were in this together now, whether she liked it or not. The tension in the mansion settled into the walls like trapped smoke, clinging to every corner, every breath. The aftermath of Barack's confrontation with Cairo left a chill that even the morning sun couldn't melt. Guards now patrolled the hallways with heightened vigilance, their movements sharp and alert. Every door was checked twice, every window latched. The estate, usually a symbol of power and luxury, now felt like a fortress on the brink of siege. In the hidden inner wing, Senna sat with Tendo nestled against her chest, listening to the faint echoes of hurried footsteps and muffled orders. Her heart wouldn't stop racing. She had known hunger, she had known loss, she had known fear, but never the kind that stalked in silence and wore the face of a billionaire's brother. Barack stood a few steps away, staring out the narrow window slit that overlooked the side garden. His posture was rigid, his jaw clenched. His shoulders carried a weight ancient and crushing. Finally, he spoke. Sina, he said quietly without turning around, I need to explain the full truth to you now. Sina tightened her hold on Tendo. You already told me that Econ was your son. Barack shook his head slowly. Not all of it. The sorrow in his voice made her chest tighten. She braced herself. Barack turned toward her. Not as a billionaire, not as the feared Mufasa patriarch, but as a man standing in the ruins of choices he could no longer undo. When I was younger, Barak began, I was arrogant. I believed love was a distraction. That vulnerability made me weak. Then I met Zuri, the woman who became my wife. Sina listened in silence. She changed me. Barak whispered, eyes softening with memories. She made me a better man. We built a life together, beautiful, strong. We had a daughter. And then, tragedy struck. He swallowed hard. A fire. A single electrical spark in the nursery. I lost them both in minutes. Sina gasped softly. Barak continued, voice rough as gravel. I died that night, Sina. The world knew me as powerful, but inside I was hollow. He took a long breath. And then, years later, a woman came to my office claiming I had fathered her son. Ekan. Sina shifted, her heartbeat quickening. She had imagined many things about Ekan's past, but never this. I didn't believe her, Barak said, regret heavy in every word. Or maybe I didn't want to. Accepting him meant confronting the possibility that I had abandoned a child before I ever learned what love truly meant. He wiped a hand across his mouth. I turned them away. A mistake I repeated when Ekan returned as a young man begging me for acknowledgement. I didn't know then how much he had suffered. How deeply he longed for a sense of identity. A tremor shot through Barak's voice. I rejected him again. And when he left my office that day, I never saw him again. Sina exhaled shakily. Her anger toward Ekan for hiding things, her resentment for being left alone, it all twisted into something more complicated, something painful. Barak looked straight at her now. My brother Cairo exploited that weakness. He despised the idea of any illegitimate child sharing our bloodline. He kept tabs on Ekan, manipulated him, and when Ekan became a threat, Cairo had him silenced. Sina pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. And the authorities, Cairo paid them off. He controls enough people, enough places. Barak shook his head, but he didn't know about Tendo. Not yet. As far as he's concerned, Ekan died alone. That belief is the only thing that has kept your son alive. Sina felt the room sway around her. The magnitude of everything crashed over her like a tidal wave. Her child wasn't just born into poverty. He was born into a war he never asked for. What do we do now? She whispered. Barak stepped closer, the determination returning to his eyes. We protect him, Barak said firmly. With everything I have. Sina lifted her chin. And Cairo. Barak hesitated for a long moment. He will not stop. People like him never do. He wants control. He wants my empire. And now that he knows a child exists that could alter the line of succession, his jaw hardened. He will come after you again, Sina hugged Tendo tighter. I can't run forever. You won't have to, Barak said quietly, because I won't let him get near you. Sina searched his face, trying to gauge the sincerity in his eyes. What she saw there made her chest ache, deep remorse, fierce protectiveness, and something softer she couldn't yet decipher. Before she could respond, there was a soft beep from the security console in the room. Hamal entered immediately, his expression grave. Sir, Hamal said, closing the door behind him, we found something. Barak tensed. What is it? Hamal approached, handing a small tablet. One of the outer cameras was tampered with earlier this morning, before Cairo arrived. Sina's breath hitched. Someone else knew. Not someone, Hamal said grimly. A group. Hamal tapped the screen. Grainy footage appeared, figures dressed in dark clothing, moving around the perimeter of the mansion long before dawn. They carried tools, communicated with gestures, and strategically sabotaged cameras one by one. Professionals, Barak muttered. Not Cairo's usual thugs. Cairo has expanded his reach, Hamal confirmed. He's preparing for something larger, a coordinated attack maybe. He wants leverage, he wants Tendo. Sina felt cold. We're trapped. No, Barak said sharply. We adapt. He turned to Hamal. Initiate protocol Iron Wall. Hamal blinked. Sir, that will lock down the entire estate. No entry. No exit. Not even for our people. Do it, Barak insisted. Hamal hesitated only a second before nodding and stepping out to execute the command. The hidden wings suddenly felt smaller, darker, the air heavier. Sina clutched Tendo, her voice trembling. Are we safe? Barak looked at her with absolute conviction. You are, as long as I'm alive. Something about the way he said it made her chest loosen and tighten at the same time. I don't want you getting hurt because of us, Sina whispered. Barak shook his head. You're not a burden, Sina. Your family. She froze. The word hit her with unexpected force. Family, something she hadn't felt in years. Before she could reply, Hamal returned urgency in his step. "Sir," he said quickly, "the lockdown has begun. But there's more," we intercepted a message. Barak stepped closer, from who Hamal's eyes flickered to Sina and the baby before he answered. "Cairo's men. They've set a deadline." Sina's heart pounded painfully. "A deadline," she whispered. Hamal nodded. "They're coming back tonight. In full force." The room fell silent, fear thick in the air, but then Barak straightened his voice, low, steely, unyielding. "Let them come." Sina stared at him in shock. Barak's gaze burned with new fire. This time he said, "I'll be ready." His fists clenched, his shoulders squared. The broken father transformed into a man prepared for war. Because protecting Tendo wasn't just about making amends. It was a second chance at the family he lost, and the one he might finally reclaim. Night fell like a warning. The sun slipped behind the horizon with unnatural speed, leaving the mansion cloaked in a heavy, suffocating darkness. Powerful floodlights flickered on outside the estate walls, cutting white arcs across the grounds. Guards in reinforced gear patrolled with rifles. Surveillance screens blinked with red motion indicators. Doors locked automatically, window shutters sealed. Protocol iron wall had transformed Barak's luxurious estate into a fortress. Inside the hidden inner wing, Sina held Tendo close, as the faint whirring of security systems pulsed through the walls like a mechanical heartbeat. Her own heartbeat felt too loud in comparison. Every time she shifted her son in her arms, she imagined shadows slithering outside, waiting for a single mistake. She wasn't used to fear like this, the kind that hunted silently, strategically, wearing the clothes of rich men with empty souls. Barak stepped into the room with Hamal behind him. Both looked exhausted. Barak's shirt sleeves were rolled up and faint shadows rested beneath his eyes. But there was a sharp fire in him that hadn't been there before. "Everything is secure," Barak said, though the tension in his jaw betrayed that nothing felt secure at all. Sina stood tightening her grip on Tendo. "Hamal said they're coming tonight." Barak nodded grimly. "Cairo is too arrogant to hide his intentions. The tampered cameras were a message. The day visit was a distraction. Tonight is the real strike," Sina trembled. "And you're just waiting for them." "No," Barak corrected softly. "I'm preparing for them." Hamal moved to a wall panel and pulled up several holographic displays showing heat signatures around the property. "There are already intruders gathering in the woods near the east side," he reported. "Very faint, very quiet. Professionals." Sina's heart dropped. "How many?" "Too many," Hamal answered without sugarcoating it. "They're limiting their movement to stay hidden from thermal scans." Barak stared at the footage with narrowed eyes. "Cairo wants this done without witnesses. He plans to strike fast and vanish even faster." Sina shook her head, fear turning her fingers cold. "Why is he so evil? Why does he want a baby dead?" Barak turned to her slowly. "Power doesn't corrupt Cairo, it reveals him. He wants the company, he wants the legacy. And any bloodline tied to me threatens that." He paused, voice lowering. "And because he knows how much I regret what I did to Econ, he knows this child could become the one thing that matters most to me." He looked at Sina as if the truth pained him. "And Cairo destroys anything he cannot control." A chill raced down Sina's spine. She hugged her baby, feeling his tiny breath against her collarbone. "I won't let him take my son." Barak stepped closer, his voice firm but gentle. "You won't have to fight him alone." Sina blinked, meeting his eyes. Something in his gaze softened briefly, something like determination, wrapped in guilt, wrapped in hope. Hamal cleared his throat. "Sir, we need to finalize the defensive plan." Barak nodded and turned to Sina again. "Stay in this wing. Do not leave until I come for you. You understand?" She swallowed. "Yes." But worry clouded her expression. "And you, what if he hurts you? What if?" Barak raised a hand, silencing her gently. "Sina, I've fought men worse than Cairo. But this time I'm not fighting for business or pride. I'm fighting for family." Her breath caught. Before she could respond, the lights flickered, once, twice, then returned with a faint buzzing hum. Hamal's eyes widened. "They're testing our power grid." Barak stiffened. He's starting early. He turned toward the door with urgency. "Hamal, with me." Sina locked the door behind us. "Don't open it for anyone." She nodded with trembling hands. Barak paused at the doorway. "Your son, Tendo, he is my grandson, Sina. I will not let history repeat itself." The sincerity in his voice made her chest ache. As the door sealed behind him and Hamal Senna whispered a silent prayer, one she hadn't said in years, the estate's main control room buzzed with tension. Screens glowed in dim blues and reds, mapping every inch of the estate. Barak stood at the center, commanding the room like a general leading an army. But even generals bleed. Cut the outside lights, Barak ordered. If they want darkness, we'll give them a darkness we control. Hamal typed swiftly. The monitors shifted, plunging the exterior into pitch black, but Barak's infrared sensors lit up the screens with glowing silhouettes. There, Hamal pointed. 5 approaching from the east, 3 more from the south, all carrying weapons. A guard swallowed nervously. Sir, we can reinforce the perimeter. No, Barak said sharply. If we engage outside, we risk stray bullets breaking through the mansion walls. He took a slow breath. We fight them inside, on our terms. The guard blinked. Inside, but sir, yes, Barak said coldly. Inside. Let him in. Gasps filled the room. Hamal turned. Barak, are you sure? This is risky. Barak glanced at the monitors showing the hidden wing where Senna and Tendo stayed. They want the child, he said. They won't stop until they search every room. The sooner they enter, the sooner I lead them away from the inner wing. Hamal inhaled sharply. You mean to draw them toward you? Yes, and away from the baby, Hamal whispered. Barak clenched his jaw. I already lost one son. I will not lose another. His words fell like thunder. Hamal nodded. I'll set rerouted pathways. You can funnel them through the service halls and into the main atrium. Good. Barak took one last look at the screens before turning toward the door. Prepare for breach. In the inner wing, Sina sat on the edge of the bed, listening to faint, distant sounds, clicks, thuds, electronic pulses. The air felt too heavy, too hot. Her breath came shallow, as if the mansion itself was suffocating. Then the real fear arrived. A distant crash echoed through the halls, a deep boom, followed by shouting. Sina's heart stopped. They were inside. She clutched Tendo so tightly he whimpered, Shh, baby. Please, please, stay quiet. Heavy footsteps thundered somewhere in the distance. Men yelled orders. More crashes followed. Something shattered. A gunshot cracked through the air. Sina slapped her hand over her mouth to stop her scream. Her entire body shook. Sweat slid down her spine. Her legs trembled violently. Another gunshot. Then another. Her breath hitched. Barak, please be safe. Tendo whimpered again. She rocked him gently despite her trembling. Mama's here. Mama's here. Don't cry, my love. Voices echoed closer. Deep, harsh, angry. Search every hallway. Check the west wing. Find the child. The walls themselves seemed to vibrate with their footsteps. Senna backed against the corner of the room, praying the reinforced hidden door would hold. But then something horrific happened. The lights flickered and went out. Pitch black swallowed the room. Sena's breath caught in her throat. She heard nothing but her own heartbeat, and the faint growing sound of approaching footsteps. Please, she whispered, tears falling. Don't find us, please. And then a loud explosion shook the mansion. A scream echoed. A man's voice. A voice she recognized. Barak. He was fighting. He was out there alone, protecting her child. Her chest cracked open with emotion. Tendo whimpered, his little fingers grasping her shirt. Sina closed her eyes, holding him close in the darkness. And in that moment, the fear inside her transformed. She was done hiding, done trembling, done being powerless. If Barak was risking his life for their family, then she would not sit here and wait for death. Not again, not ever. She rose slowly, determination burning through her veins. She kissed Tendo's forehead and whispered, if danger comes through that door, they will face me first. Chaos ripped through the mansion like a living creature. Shouts echoed in the hallways, boots pounded against marble floors, and the clashing sounds of bodies colliding vibrated through the very walls. Sina clutched Tendo tightly, pressing her back against the cold corner of the room. Darkness swallowed everything. Only the faint emergency lights outside the hidden door glowed red, like distant dying embers. Her breath shook uncontrollably. She tried to steady herself, tried to keep her heart from bursting through her chest. One trembling hand covered her son's ears. The other wiped sweat and tears from her face. She wished desperately she could block out the sounds of violence. The gunshots, the screams. She wasn't used to fear like this, a fear that had teeth and claws and intentions. She whispered into Tendo's ear, you're safe. I swear I'll keep you safe. But she wasn't fully sure of that anymore. Not when the enemy was inside. Not when Barack was fighting for his life somewhere just beyond the walls. Another crash shook the floorboards. Something heavy toppled over. Maybe a sculpture, maybe a piece of furniture, maybe a body. Sina shut her eyes, choking back a cry. Then she heard the worst sound yet. Footsteps, slow, heavy, too close. They crept down the hallway like predators stalking prey. Her body turned to ice. Tendo whimpered, sensing her fear. No, 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 she whispered, rocking him gently. Not now, baby. Please don't cry. The footsteps stopped directly outside the hidden door. Sina's soul nearly left her body. A low male voice muttered, "Scan this side." Cairo said to check every inch of the east wing. "There's a hidden room somewhere." Hidden room. Her lungs froze. Another voice replied, "We're close." "My detector is picking up warm bodies on the other side." Warm bodies. He meant them. Sina felt her knees weaken. She pressed Tendo tighter to her chest, feeling his tiny heart race against her own. Outside metal clinked the unmistakable sound of tools. "They're trying to open the entrance," Sina realized, panic clawing through her. The door was reinforced, but no barrier was absolute, especially not when monsters were determined to get through. "Keep working," one of the men said sharply. "If that baby is alive, Cairo wants him brought straight to." Suddenly gunfire erupted farther down the hall. The men outside cursed. "What the A?" Thunderous voice roared from the darkness. "Stand down." Sina recognized it instantly. Barack. Her heart leapt into her throat. A barrage of gunshots followed, 3, 4, 5, one after another, like thunder cracking the sky. Sina crouched low on the floor, protecting Tendo with her entire body shaking violently. She didn't know what was happening, couldn't see the fight, but she heard it unfolding inches away. The men outside fired back. Barack growled with rage, a sound she wouldn't have believed came from him if she weren't hearing it herself. Something heavy slammed into the wall, rattling the hidden door hinges. A man screamed in agony. Sina covered Tendo's ears tightly. Then there was a thud, a sickening heavy drop, followed by silence. Total silence. Her pulse hammered in her ears. Was Barack alive? Was he hurt? Did the intruders break through? The seconds stretched endlessly. Then, a voice she prayed for Sina. "It's me, Barack." Her breath collapsed in relief. She rushed forward and pressed her ear against the door. "Barack, are you hurt?" A pause. Then his voice, low and strained but steady. "Open the door." Sina didn't think twice. Her trembling hands found the latch, unlocked the mechanism, and the heavy door swung open just enough for her to see him. He leaned against the opposite wall, breathing hard. Blood trickled from a cut above his eyebrow. His shirt was torn, streaked with dust and smoke. But his eyes, those fierce, unyielding eyes, locked immediately onto her and the baby, and softened. "Sina," he managed, voice rough. "You're safe." Her knees nearly buckled. She stepped forward, hugging Tendo close, tears streaming down her face. "What happened? Are you injured, Barack?" He held up a hand, signaling he was fine, or at least pretending to be. "They were after this wing," he said, glancing over his shoulder at the two unconscious intruders sprawled on the floor. "But they didn't get far." He pushed off the wall with effort and stepped inside, shutting the door behind him. His breath came shallow, but his hands remained steady as he examined the room, checking the corners, the shadows, any breach. Only when he was satisfied did he turn fully toward her. Sina's voice cracked. You fought them alone," Barack exhaled slowly. "I had backup in the other corridors. But here I couldn't risk stray bullets. I had to draw them away, keep them from getting close to you." Her throat tightened. "You could have died." He stepped closer, eyes dark and intense. "Better me than the two of you." The words hit her like a blow. She stared at him. This man who had once lived behind walls higher than his mansion gates, who had buried his heart in regret and solitude. And yet now he stood before her, willing to bleed for her child. Her breath shook. "Why? Why would you risk so much?" Barack didn't answer at first. His gaze moved to Tendo, sleeping fitfully in her arms. He reached out slowly, a question rather than a demand. Sina hesitated, then allowed him to gently touch the baby's tiny hand. Emotion rippled across his face. "I couldn't save Econ," he whispered. "But I won't fail Tendo. Or you. Not again." His voice cracked at the end. Sina swallowed hard, overwhelmed by the raw sincerity in his eyes. Distantly, more explosions echoed through the mansion. Barack tensed instantly, shifting protectively in front of Sina. Hamal's voice crackled through Barack's earpiece. Sir, they managed to breach the west entrance. We're holding them off, but there are too many. Barak's jaw tightened. Hold your ground. I'm coming. Sina grabbed his arm desperately. No. You're already hurt if you go out there again. Barak cupped her face in both hands, forcing her to look at him. Sina, he said softly, listen to me. Her tears fell harder. You and Tendo are my family now, he whispered. I will protect you with everything I have, even if it costs me my life. Sina covered his hands with hers, but I can't lose you either. For a heartbeat, they stood there, two broken souls bound by fear, loss, and something rising between them that neither dared to name. Then Barak leaned forward, pressing his forehead to hers. A trembling moment. A silent promise. Then he stepped back. I'll end this, he said. Stay hidden. Don't make a sound. She nodded, choking back a sob. Come back, Barak. Please. He looked at her like she was the last flicker of light in his world. I will. And with that, he turned and slipped back into the darkness of the hallway. Shoulders squared, blood drying on his skin, the weight of 2 lives resting on his back. Sina watched the door close and whispered into the silence. Come back to us, family. Outside, the battle raged on, and Barak stepped into it without hesitation. To end it, to save them, to reclaim what he lost, and to build what he never thought he'd have again. The mansion had become a war zone. The moment Barak stepped out of the hidden wing and shut the door behind him, the air changed. The halls were thick with gunpowder smoke and the metallic scent of danger. Shattered glass glittered across the floor like fallen stars. Portraits hung crookedly or lay broken on the ground. The echoes of shouting and gunfire bounced through the corridors, each one tightening a noose around the mansion's heart. Barak moved with purpose despite the pain radiating through his ribs and the blood drying on his temple. His breathing was heavy, but his steps were steady, each one fueled, not by anger anymore, but by something stronger. Family. Redemption. Love, though he refused to name it yet. As he turned into the West Wing corridor, a spray of bullets shattered the wall beside his head. He ducked behind a marble pillar, his heart pounding. Hamal's voice crackled in his earpiece through static. Barak, 2 hostiles are moving toward the atrium. I've rerouted backup, but you'll reach them first. Barak wiped the blood from his eyebrow with the back of his hand. I'll handle it. Sir, I said I'll handle it. He peered around the pillar. 2 intruders advanced with rifles raised, sweeping the area methodically. Barak's jaw tightened. These men had come for his grandson, for the last living piece of his son. They would leave the mansion only one way, on stretchers. He waited for their steps to align. Then he moved. Fast, silent, precise. His shoulders slammed into the first man, knocking him off balance, as Barak ripped the rifle from his hands and struck him across the face. Bone cracked. The man collapsed. The second intruder swung his weapon toward Barak, too slow. Barak lunged, grabbing the rifle barrel and twisting it hard. The man cried out as his wrist snapped. The gun clattered to the floor. Barak kicked it away, grabbed the man by the collar, and slammed him into the wall. Who sent you? Barak growled. The man spat blood. You know who, Cairo, Barak hissed. The man smirked. He said you'd fight like hell. But he also said you're too old to win. Barak's fist clenched. He didn't punch the man. He didn't need to. His silence said enough. He let the intruder slide unconscious to the floor, then retrieved a dropped comm device. Static flickered. A voice snarled through the line, target not found. Repeat, target not found. Barak's blood ran cold. They were looking for the child. His heart hammered. He sprinted toward the atrium. Inside the hidden room, Sina rocked Tendo, gently whispering prayers she hadn't spoken in years. The lights remained off the room, cloaked in thick, suffocating darkness. She strained to hear Barak's voice, Hamal's footsteps, anything that meant safety, but all she heard were muffled explosions and distant screams. Her trembling fingers stroked Tendo's cheek. You're okay, my love. Mama's here! Mama's here! A sudden rumble shook the walls. Dust drifted from the ceiling. Sina gasped and crouched protectively over Tendo. No, no, please no. Her chest constricted. Each second chipped away at her resolve. The room was safe for now, but the war outside grew louder. What if Barak didn't come back? What if he was bleeding out somewhere? What if she never heard his voice again? The fear was worse than the danger. She paced the room, unable to stay still. Every instinct in her body screamed to run, to hide, to find Barak. Her breath shook. I can't lose him. Not now. Her whisper froze in the air. And then faintly, she heard footsteps near the hidden wing. Not heavy, not multiple pairs. One. slow, dragging slightly. Her breath hitched. "Barak," she whispered. No answer. The footsteps stopped right outside the hidden door. Silence stretched tight as wire. Then a soft knock, 3 gentle taps. Her heart nearly burst. "Barak," she said, stepping closer. But then she froze. That wasn't Barak's knock. Barak always knocked once. Firm, decisive. This one was hesitant, soft, almost mocking. Her blood turned to ice. A male voice spoke through the door, muffled but chillingly calm. "Good evening, Senna." Her entire soul dropped. It wasn't Barak, it wasn't Hamal. It was Cairo. Her knees weakened, but she forced herself not to collapse. Cairo continued, voice silky and venomous. "You've caused quite a mess, my dear. My men have been looking all over for you." Tendo whimpered. Sina covered his mouth gently, heart racing. "Oh, don't be shy," Cairo purred. "Open the door. I only want to talk." Sina backed away slowly, shaking her head even though he couldn't see it. Cairo chuckled lightly. "You think hiding will save you? That child you're clutching, he carries a bloodline that could destroy everything I built. I can't allow that." Her breath caught painfully. Cairo knocked again, still gentle, still mocking. "Open the door, Sena. You can't protect a child from a future he shouldn't have." Her fear snapped. Something rose inside her, something fierce, protective, burning hotter than terror. Her voice trembled, but she forced the words out. "Stay away from my son," Cairo hummed softly. "Brave, but foolish." Metal scraped outside the door. Tools. More tools. Cairo was trying to break in. Sina looked desperately around the room for a weapon, a hiding spot, anything. But the room was bare. Then she remembered under the bed was a heavy steel lamp base. She lunged for it, clutching it with trembling hands. The door rattled violently. Cairo hissed, "Goodbye, Sina." A sharp explosion rocked the door from the outside. Tendo screamed. Senna screamed with him. The door's metal frame bent inward. Pieces of it tore away. Cairo's silhouette appeared in the widening crack. "Finally," he growled. "Let's finish." A roar thundered down the hallway. "Cairo!" Sina's heart soared. "Barak." In a blur of motion, Barak slammed into Cairo with such force that the man flew sideways, crashing into the opposite wall. Sina gasped, covering Tendo's ears. Barak stood between her and Cairo, bleeding, bruised, shaking with fury. He bellowed, "You will not touch my family!" Cairo wiped blood from his lip, laughing darkly. "Your family, Barak, you're delusional!" Barak stepped closer, voice trembling with rage and pain. "Ekon was my son. Tendo is my grandson. And Sina, she is under my protection. Hurt them and I will bury you myself." Cairo snarled. "You think you can stop me? I control. You control nothing," Barak shouted. Then he attacked. The two brothers collided like storms. Barak's fist cracked against Cairo's jaw. Cairo retaliated with a vicious blow to Barak's ribs. They slammed into the walls, the floor, the shattered doorframe. Barak fought like a man with nothing left to lose. Cairo fought like a man determined to destroy everything. Sina watched in horror, unable to look away, clutching Tendo as tears streamed down her face. "Barak," she cried. "Please stop, you'll kill each other." But neither man stopped. Until Cairo grabbed a fallen weapon from the hallway floor. A gun. He aimed it straight at Barak's heart. Sina screamed, "No!" Barak froze, breathing hard, blood dripping onto the floor. But his eyes stayed locked on Cairo's. Cairo smirked, finger tightening on the trigger. "You always were weak, brother." Then a shot rang out. But not from Cairo's gun. From behind him. Cairo's eyes widened. He staggered forward, dropping the weapon, blood blooming across his shoulder. Behind him stood Hamal, breathing hard, gun still raised. "Don't," Hamal growled, voice shaking touch. "My boss." Cairo collapsed. Silence fell like dust. Sina sobbed with relief. Barak turned to Hamal, shock flickering across his face. "You," Hamal lowered the weapon. "I'm still your friend, Barak, and I wasn't about to let him kill you." Barak took a shaky breath. Then he turned to Senna, and she saw it. This wasn't over. But tonight, they survived. Together. For a long moment, the mansion held a silence so heavy it seemed to press against everyone's lungs. Cairo lay on the ground, groaning in pain, blood seeping from his shoulder. Hamal stood over him, breathing hard, his gun still raised, though his hands shook from adrenaline. Barak staggered back against the wall, bracing himself with one shaking arm. Sweat and blood dripped down his temple. His chest heaved like a man who had sprinted through hell and barely crawled out alive. But Sina saw none of that first. She saw Barack's eyes, exhausted, wild, terrified. Not for himself, for her. Barack, she whispered, her voice cracking. He turned to her immediately, instantly, as if her voice pulled him back from the edge of the abyss. Sina, he breathed. Are you hurt? Is Tendo? We're safe, she said quickly, clutching Tendo close. You saved us, again. Barack sagged with relief. His entire body loosened as though invisible chains had been cut from his shoulders. His knees almost buckled. Sina rushed forward without thinking, catching him by the arm. His breath hitched at her touch, but he didn't pull away. Easy, she murmured. You're hurt. Barack managed a strained smile. Nothing I can't handle. But the blood soaking through his shirt said otherwise. Hamal lowered his gun fully, now stepping between Barack and Cairo. Sir, we need to move. More intruders may still be in the mansion. Security is sweeping the area, but we're not clear yet. Cairo coughed weakly. This isn't over, Barack. You think shooting me will? Barack moved so fast even Sina flinched. He strode up to Cairo, grabbed him by the collar, and slammed him back down onto the floor. You threatened my grandson, Barack, growled in a voice so cold it could freeze fire. You broke every boundary, every line, every law. Cairo sneered weakly. You were always so dramatic. Barack pressed his forearm into Cairo's chest, pinning him. I buried my regrets with Econ. But you, his voice dropped to a deadly whisper. You tried to bury what little I have left, and for that I will destroy you. Cairo's smirk wavered. Sina shivered. This was not the controlled, composed Barack she had known. This was a father. A man pushed past the breaking point. Hamal stepped closer, voice respectful but firm. Sir, he needs to be restrained and taken to the security bunker. Alive. We can't risk him slipping away. Barack's jaw tightened. Slowly, painfully, he loosened his grip and let Cairo sag back to the floor. Take him, Barack ordered. Hamal gestured to two guards at the end of the hallway, men who had just arrived after hearing the gunshot. They seized Cairo, shackled him, and began dragging him toward the west wing. Cairo laughed weakly, blood staining his teeth. You think this ends with me tied in a room, Barack? You don't understand what you're up against. Barack ignored him. He turned away without a single backward glance. When Cairo was gone, Barack let out a slow breath. It trembled at the edges. Sina approached him gently. You need to sit. You're bleeding. Barack shook his head. Not until I know all threats are eliminated. Hamal stepped forward. Sir, the system shows no remaining intruders. Security has regained control of every wing. Barack paused. You're sure? Yes. Only then did Barack allow himself to sway slightly. Sina caught him again. Please, she whispered, just sit. For your sake. For Tendo's. Her voice broke, and that seemed to cut through Barack's stubbornness more than pain ever could. He sank onto a nearby sofa, breathing hard. Sina knelt in front of him, still holding Tendo but using one free hand to check his wounds. He flinched. It's fine. It's not, she shot back softly. Let me help. Her hand trembled as she wiped the blood from his brow. Barack watched her, his expression softening like the sight of her caring for him eased the ache in his bones. You shouldn't be doing this, he murmured. You fought an army for my child, she whispered back. Let me tend to a cut. His lips twitched almost a smile. A real one. Hamal spoke again. Sir, we need to call the police. This cannot stay internal. Barack rubbed his forehead. I know. But first, I want to check on Tendo. Sina looked down at her son. The baby was still crying softly from the shock of the noise and chaos. She turned him toward Barack. Barack's expression melted. He reached out with shaking fingers and stroked Tendo's cheek. The baby hiccuped, then grasped Barack's finger with tiny hands. Barack's eyes glossed with tears. I failed your father, he whispered, but I won't fail you. Sina's heart squeezed painfully. She touched Barack's hand lightly. He would have wanted you in his son's life, she murmured. Barack swallowed hard. I wanted to be in his life too. I just didn't realize it until it was too late. Sina squeezed his hand. You have a second chance, she said softly. Don't waste it. He met her gaze, and something flickered between them. Something deep, fragile, undeniable. But the moment shattered with Hamal's next words. Sir, there's something else. Barack straightened. What is it? Hamal handed him a small device, a tiny flash drive. We found this in Cairo's pocket, he said. It contains encrypted files. Whatever he planned tonight, this has the details. Barack's expression darkened. Get it decrypted immediately. Hamal nodded and left. Sina sat beside Barack, now close enough that their shoulders touched. What do you think is on it? She asked softly. Everything, Barack murmured. Every crime, every ally, every betrayal. Cairo didn't come tonight just to kill Tendo. He came to erase anything that tied him to Econ's disappearance. If this drive holds proof, then this is far from over. Sina shuddered. Barack, I'm scared. He turned, cupping her jaw gently. You fought fear tonight and protected our grandson with everything you had. That is courage, Sina, and I swear, his voice thickened. I swear on Econ's memory, no one will touch either of you again. She leaned into his hand without meaning to, exhausted and emotional. Barack lowered his voice. Let me take care of both of you. Not because of guilt, because it's what I want. Her breath caught. Barack. Before she could say more, security alarms blared again, sharp and piercing. Hamal's voice rushed through the intercom. Barack. The drive's data is reacting. Something is triggering a remote wipe. You need to get to the control room, now. Barack's eyes widened. He stood instantly, ignoring the pain in his ribs. Senna, he said urgently, stay here. Don't let anyone in. I'll come back. She grabbed his hand tightly. Barack, please be careful. He squeezed her fingers, once firm and lingering, before pulling away. Then he ran down the hall with Hamal, both men moving with a speed born of desperation. Sina watched him vanish into the shadows. Holding Tendo close, she whispered to the darkness, come back to us. Come back. Because now she knew the truth. Barack Mufasa wasn't just fighting for redemption. He was fighting for a future with them. A future that Cairo would burn the world to prevent. And tonight's battle was only the beginning. Barack ran down the corridor with a speed that defied the pain tearing through his ribs. Each breath was a razor. Each step reminded him he wasn't a young man anymore. But none of that mattered. Not tonight. Not with Sina and Tendo hidden behind a fragile door. Not with Cairo's plan unfolding faster than any of them had anticipated. Hamal kept pace beside him, clutching the flash drive tightly. Sir, the data is breaking down. The auto-wipe sequence is activating on its own. We have maybe 2 minutes before everything is erased. Barack cursed under his breath. What triggered it? Hamal shook his head. I don't know. Could be a timer, could be a remote signal, could be booby-trapped encryption. Cairo always layered his secrets. Get it into the main system, Barack ordered. We're going to force a data freeze. They reached the control room, one of the mansion's only fully fortified areas. The guards inside snapped to attention as Barack entered. The walls flickered with dozens of screens, cameras, heat signatures, system diagnostics. The air hummed with electricity. Bring up the decryption interface, Hamal commanded. A technician scrambled to obey. Running it now, Barack stood behind him, chest heaving, fists clenched. How long until the auto-wipe completes? 70 seconds, Hamal said, watching the flashing countdown on the device's tiny display. That's not enough time, the technician muttered, fingers flying across the keyboard. Cairo built a fail-safe. It's designed to implode the data at the slightest interference. We don't need all of it, Barack cut in. Just enough. His voice carried the weight of a man who had spent years letting too much slip through his fingers. Hamal nodded tightly. Then we take whatever pieces we can rip out before it burns. 30 seconds, the technician shouted. Hamal slammed the flash drive into the tower port. Code exploded across the screens, lines of red and green symbols racing faster than the eye could track. Extracting, the technician yelled. But the wipe is accelerating. Override the firewalls, Hamal ordered. I'm trying. Barack leaned forward, breathing shallow. On the screens, fragments of files began to appear. Documents, emails, images, faces, locations, bank accounts, names, dozens of names. Barack's blood turned cold. That's Cairo's network, Hamal whispered. Every corrupt official, every hired mercenary, every bribe. It was worse than either of them imagined. The technician paled. Sir, the system, it's overheating, it's triggering a shutdown. Barack slammed his hand on the desk. Keep it online, that's an order. 5 seconds, 4, 3. The screens flashed violently, then went black. The room plunged into silence, except for the harsh breathing of the 3 men. The countdown on the flash drive blinked 000, a digital tombstone. Hamal looked at the dark screens, dread tightening his features. Did we get anything at all? The technician swallowed. We won't know until reboot. The crash froze everything mid-transfer. Barack pinched the bridge of his nose, exhaling shakily. Restart the system, now. I don't care if it blows out every backup generator we have. Yes, sir, the lights flickered. The screens slowly powered back on. Then one by one image files reappeared. Corrupted but visible. email logs, names, schedules, schematics of the mansion, blueprints of escape tunnels, and then a folder titled Econ. Barack's heart stilled. He clicked it. Inside was a single video file, corrupted, flickering, but intact enough to play. Hamal hesitated. Barack, are you sure you want to? Play it. The screen filled with static, then a face appeared. Econ, alive, younger than when Barack saw him last, recording himself on a handheld device. His eyes were tired, bruised, hollow, and impossibly familiar. Sina's son had those same eyes. Date unknown. Econ's voice said shaky. If you're seeing this, I'm probably dead. Barack's breath shattered. I didn't know who else to turn to, Econ continued. I made bad choices. I worked for Cairo. I thought it would help me find where I belonged. I thought it would lead me back to the father who never wanted me. Barack's knees weakened. Hamal placed a steadying hand on his shoulder. Econ swallowed hard in the video. I found out things I shouldn't have, things Cairo did, and now he wants to clean up his mess. Econ leaned closer to the camera, voice breaking. If anything happens to me, my child must be protected. You owe me nothing, but he is innocent. Please, if you ever cared at all. His lips trembled. Keep him safe. The video cut abruptly, corrupted into static. Barack stood frozen, his face crumpled. He sank into a chair as if gravity finally won. His chest heaved once, twice, then a raw, broken sob escaped him, years of regret dropping him to emotional knees. Hamal looked away, giving him a moment. Barack pressed the heels of his palms to his eyes, shaking violently. He wanted my help, he rasped. He asked for me, and I wasn't there. Hamal knelt beside him. You're here now. For his son. For Senna. That's what matters. Barack shook his head, voice cracking. It's not enough. It has to be, Hamal said softly, because they need you alive, not buried in guilt. Barack forced himself to breathe. We need to show this to the authorities. Yes, Hamal agreed, standing. But Cairo won't allow himself to be cornered. He'll make another move. He already has, Barack said darkly. He looked up at the screens where Cairo's entire network had been mapped by the fragmented data. It's time to end this, once and for all. Hamal straightened his jacket. Then what's the plan? Barack looked toward the hidden wing, even though he couldn't see her. Some part of him reached for Sina and for Tendo. My family stays hidden, Barack said. I confront Cairo with the evidence. And then I burn down everything he built. Hamal nodded. I'll gather the loyal staff. We'll prepare the bunker. Barack stood slowly, pain shooting through his ribs, but his resolve solidified like steel. Hamal. Yes, sir, Barack's voice softened. Thank you for saving my life. Hamal blinked, surprised by the sincerity. Then he gave a small, respectful bow. For Econ, Hamal said quietly, and for the family he left behind. Sina paced the hidden room anxiously. Every second felt like a blade pressed to her throat. Tendo slept in her arms, now exhausted from fear and crying. She kissed his forehead again and again, as if shielding him with love alone. The door hissed. She spun around, heart leaping. Barack stepped inside. He looked older, worn, eyes rimmed red, shirt stained with blood, but alive. Sina felt her knees weaken. Tears blurred her vision. Barack. He moved toward her slowly. Then something inside her broke. She ran to him. He caught her, instantly pulling her into his arms. She clung to him with trembling hands, burying her face in his chest as sobs shook her entire body. He held her tightly, as if she were the only anchor keeping him from sinking into darkness. You're safe, Barack whispered, voice hoarse. Sina, I thought I'd lost you. She leaned back just enough to look at him. You're hurt. He cupped her cheek gently. I'll heal. Tendo whimpered, and Barack's gaze softened. How is he? Barack asked. Sina brushed the baby's hair, scared. But okay. Barack nodded slowly. I saw Econ, he whispered. A video, before he died. Sina's breath stopped. What? What did he say? Barack swallowed hard. He asked me to protect his son. A tear finally slipped down his cheek. I swear to you, Sina. I will, even if it costs me everything. Sina reached up and wiped the tear with her thumb. We'll protect him together, she whispered. Barack's breath hitched. His eyes softened. And something changed between them, something deeper, stronger, irreversible. A bond born from tragedy, strengthened by danger, sealed by love neither dared name. But before they could speak another word, Hamel rushed in. Sir, it's time. Barack nodded. He turned to Sina and whispered, This ends tonight. And for the first time, Sina believed him. The mansion was quieter now, too quiet. The kind of quiet that came after chaos, but before revelation, like the world itself was holding its breath. The halls were dim, the floors littered with the remnants of a battle-broken marble tiles, splintered furniture, bullet casings, glinting under emergency lights. Guards moved cautiously in pairs, murmuring into earpieces as they checked every corner. But the real storm hadn't passed. It was only gathering. Barack stood in the central atrium, a place once meant for receptions, concerts, charity galas. Now it was the war room of a man pushed too far. Maps of the city, encrypted documents, and photos of Cairo's associates were spread across the grand table. Hamal typed rapidly on a laptop, screens flickering with decrypted data pulled from the drive. Sina entered quietly, holding Tendo against her chest. She hesitated when she saw the scale of the preparations, but Barack looked up immediately. The tension in his face melted for a moment. Sina, he said softly, You should be resting. She shook her head. I can't. Not while all of this. She gestured to the chaos. Barack approached her gently, touching Tendo's tiny hand. You and the baby must stay safe. That's the one thing that matters. Sina's eyes met his, filled with worry, gratitude, and something deeper she hadn't dared name until now. Barack, what exactly are you planning? Before he could answer, Hamal spoke up, voice grim. Cairo isn't finished. We found more on the drive. Barack's expression hardened. Show her. Hamal turned the laptop towards Sina. She shifted Tendo carefully and leaned closer. On the screen were documents showing payments to mercenaries, offshore accounts, private correspondences, political favors owed, hidden real estate, and something worse, a list of acceptable casualties. Her blood ran cold. What is this? She whispered. Cairo's plan, Hamal replied. He wasn't just trying to kill Tendo. He's been building a network to overthrow Barack from the company entirely. Framing Barack for financial crimes, eliminating witnesses, destroying documents, all so he could take control. Sina swallowed. But what does Tendo have to do with this? Barack inhaled sharply. A secret child of Econ, my grandson, could be seen as a legitimate heir. If that truth surfaced, it would destabilize Cairo's power grab. Sina clutched Tendo protectively. He wants to wipe out any threat to him, even if that threat is a baby. Barack nodded grimly. Cairo has always believed the world owed him something, and anyone who stands in his way must disappear. Hamal zoomed into another decrypted file, grainy photos taken secretly. One of the photos made Sena gasp. It was Econ, alive, bruised, looking over his shoulder as though someone were following him. Barack's face went pale. The next photo showed Econ entering Cairo's private office. Then another, him leaving that office hours later, limping. And then a final image, Econ unconscious on a warehouse floor, while men dragged him toward a truck. Sina covered her mouth, tears spilling silently. He was terrified. Barack clenched his fists so hard the knuckles whitened. My brother did this. My own blood. He killed my son. Sina looked at him trembling. Then what now? What do you do to a man like that? Barack's voice dropped to a low, cold whisper. You stop him. You end him. You take away the power he stole. Hamal closed the laptop. Sir, we have enough evidence now to ruin Cairo publicly, but bringing this to the authorities is dangerous. Cairo has men everywhere. Lawyers, judges, police chiefs. Barack crossed his arms. Then we don't go through the authorities. Sina's eyes widened. Barack, what are you saying? He met her gaze. I'm saying we strike first. We expose him so thoroughly that he cannot hide behind money or influence, and we do it fast before he sends more men here. Sina hugged Tendo closer. What if he comes back tonight? Barack shook his head. He won't. He knows we're prepared, but he's desperate now. Cornered. Hamel nodded. Desperation makes him more dangerous. Sina felt anxiety tear through her chest. I don't want you fighting him again. You barely survived the first time. Barack touched her arm gently. Sina, I can't let him hurt you. Or Tendo. This isn't about the company anymore. This is about family. Her breath caught. Family. That word wrapped around her heart and squeezed. Before she could respond, a guard rushed into the atrium. Sir, we've located Cairo. Everyone froze. Where Barack demanded. The guard pointed toward the map on the table. He broke custody, used a hidden exit in the outer service tunnel. He's on the move. Barack swore under his breath. Which direction? Toward the city. But we intercepted a radio call. Sir, he's not running. Barack's eyes narrowed. Then what is he doing? He's going after someone. Sina's heart dropped. Who? The guard swallowed. His men mentioned a name, a target. Sina's mouth went dry. Who? The guard's voice cracked. You. Sina's scream was silent, caught in her throat before it could escape. Barack moved instantly, instinctively, stepping between her and the door, as though Cairo might burst through at any moment. Hamal spoke quickly. Barack, we need to get her into the underground bunker. It's the safest location. Barack nodded. Prepare it now. We move in 10 seconds. But Sina shook her head, trembling violently. Barack, he's coming for me, for my baby. Barack stepped closer, gripping her shoulders firmly. Senna, look at me. Her eyes met his glassy, terrified. I promised Ekon I would protect his son, Barack, whispered voice breaking. I will never let Cairo touch either of you. Not while I'm breathing. Tears spilled down Sina's cheeks. Barack, don't leave me alone. His jaw tightened. I won't. He turned to Hamal. Get the bunker ready. I'm taking them there myself. Hamal nodded and rushed out. Barack placed a hand on Senna's back, guiding her gently. Stay close. Don't look anywhere but forward. Sina followed him, hard hammering, clutching Tendo tightly. As they moved through a hidden passage behind a bookshelf, Barack whispered Sina, whatever happens tonight, know this. She looked up. You and Tendo are no longer my responsibility. He paused, voice trembling. You are my family. Her breath hitched. Barack. He didn't let her finish. He ushered her through the hidden corridor, moving quickly. But just as they reached the metal stairs leading to the underground bunker, a gunshot rang out. Loud, close. The bullet slammed into the wall inches from Sina's head. She screamed. Barack shoved her down behind the staircase, shielding her with his body. He shouted, Sina, get down! Footsteps echoed through the passage. Slow, mocking, familiar. A voice followed, smooth as poison. Running already, brother. Without saying goodbye, Barack's blood turned to ice. Cairo was here, inside the mansion, inside the secret corridors, feet away from Sina and the baby. Barack rose slowly, positioning himself between them and the danger. Sina covered Tendo's head, sobbing silently. Cairo emerged from the shadows with a gun in his hand, his left shoulder soaked in blood from where Hamal shot him earlier. But his smile was intact, wide and cruel. Tuh, tuh, Cairo hissed, and here I thought tonight couldn't get any more fun. Barack stepped forward, eyes pure fire. It ends now, Cairo. Cairo laughed. Oh, brother, you have no idea how right you are. He raised the gun towards Sina, and Barack lunged. Time slowed to a terrible syrup-thick crawl. Cairo's gun rose, the muzzle gleaming under the emergency lights as it pointed directly at Sina, at Tendo. Sina's breath caught in her throat. Her scream stuck trapped as cold dread surged through every nerve she possessed. Then Barack moved, not like a billionaire, not like an aging man with bruised ribs and a bloodied temple. He moved like a father who had failed once and would rather die than fail again. He lunged with such force that Cairo barely had time to process it before Barack crashed into him, sending the gunshot exploding into the ceiling. The sound was deafening in the narrow corridor. Dust and concrete rained down around them. Sina dropped to the floor, shielding Tendo's small head with both hands. Barack and Cairo slammed into the opposite wall so hard that cracks split through the concrete. Cairo grunted fury, twisting his face into something animalistic. Barack grabbed his wrist, forcing the gun upward again, as it fired another wild shot. Kairo, Barack roared, voice laced with decades of rage and remorse. This ends tonight, Cairo snarled back. I should have killed you when I had the chance. He swung the butt of the gun into Barack's ribs, exactly where Barack was already injured. Pain exploded through Barack's side, but he refused to let go. He clamped both hands onto Cairo's wrist, veins, straining muscles, burning. You killed Ekon, Barack growled through clenched teeth. Cairo's smile twisted. He was weak, just like you. Barack slammed him into the metal railing. Cairo's gun clattered to the floor, skidding down several steps. Sina let out a shaky breath of relief, only for Cairo to slam his forehead into Barack's face, sending a burst of blood from Barack's nose. Barack stumbled back, dazed. Cairo lunged for him. Sina screamed, Barack. That voice, her voice cut through Barack's haze. He raised his arm just in time to block Cairo's punch, though it still sent him reeling into the wall. Cairo charged again. But Barack didn't fall this time. He pushed off the wall, catching Cairo's arm and twisting it behind his back with a crack that echoed through the corridor. Cairo howled in pain. You ruined everything, Cairo spat. Father should have left the empire to me. I was the stronger one. He left it to the one who earned it, Barak hissed, not the one who poisoned it. With a sudden jerk, Cairo freed himself and shoved Barak backward. Barak's foot slipped on debris, and he stumbled down a step but caught himself before he fell entirely. Cairo dove for the gun lying further below on the stairs. Sina gasped, covering Tendo's ears tightly. No! 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 Barak's instincts roared awake. He scrambled downward, ignoring the agony screaming in his ribs. Just as Cairo's fingers brushed the gun's handle, Barak tackled him from behind, knocking both of them down the last few steps. They hit the ground with a sickening thud. The gun spun across the floor, stopping at the edge of the hallway, mere inches from falling into the shaft below. Cairo lunged for it. Barak grabbed him around the waist, dragging him back. Cairo clawed at Barak's arms, wild and desperate. Let go of me! Never again, Barak snarled. I let go once. I lost my son. I won't lose his again. Cairo twisted violently, throwing an elbow into Barak's jaw. Barak staggered. Cairo dove for the gun again, and Sina suddenly cried out, Barak, behind you. Barak turned just as Cairo raised the gun. Time fractured. Tendo began to cry. Sina's scream tore through the corridor. Barak saw the gun's muzzle flash. A shot rang out. At first, no one moved. Barak blinked, chest tightening, bracing for pain. But nothing hit him. Cairo's eyes widened as he looked down at his shoulder, another shot wound bleeding through his suit. Behind him, Hamal stood at the top of the stairs, gun raised. His voice thundered through the space. Don't touch my family. Sina burst into tears. Barak exhaled shakily, relief overwhelming him. But the fight wasn't done. Cairo coughed, spitting blood. You think you've won? Barak stepped forward slowly, looming over the man who caused unspeakable damage. It's over, Cairo. Cairo laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. You have no idea how deep this goes. I built alliances. I planted people in your company. You can't take them all down. Barak said nothing. Hamal answered instead. Actually, we can. He tossed a tablet toward Barak. The screen displayed every decrypted file. Barak crouched, grabbing Cairo by the collar. We have your network, Barak said coldly. Your bank accounts. Your bribed officials. Your messages ordering Ekon's death. Your threats against a child. Cairo froze. And by dawn, Barak continued, the entire world will know. Cairo's voice cracked with sudden panic. You can't, Barak. Please, Barak, repeated incredulous. You're asking for mercy now. After everything, Cairo swallowed, hard voice trembling. I'll disappear. You'll never see me again. I swear. No, Barak cut in sharply. You don't get to run from what you did. Hamal radioed the guards. Bring the police commissioner. The non-corrupt one. Yes, sir. Cairo's face crumpled into fury. You think you're better than me, Barak. You're not. You let your son die. You abandoned him. Barak's breath hitched a wound deeper than any bullet could give him. Then he straightened. If I was weak before, Barak whispered, I'm not anymore. He stepped back. Take him. The guards dragged Cairo away as he screamed threats, sobbed, cursed, then screamed more as the corridor swallowed him. Silence settled. Barak stood there, breathing hard, his body shaking with pain, adrenaline, and the emotional storm that nearly drowned him. Sena approached slowly, carefully, tenderly. Barak, she whispered. He turned toward her. She placed her free hand on his cheek. You saved us, she whispered, voice thick with emotion. You saved me. You saved Tendo. You saved yourself. Barak's eyes softened, then glistened. He looked at his grandson nestled safely in Sina's arms. And for the first time, he let hope crack through his grief. Thank you, he choked, for giving me a chance to fix what I broke. Sina stepped closer, touching her forehead to his. You didn't fix it alone, she murmured. His hand moved to cup hers. You helped me, he whispered back. For a moment, the world disappeared, and it was just them. Broken people, healing together, protecting the future, sleeping in her arms. But Barak's strength finally gave out. His knees buckled. Sina gasped. Barak Hamal rushed forward. Sir Barak collapsed into Hamal's arms, eyes rolling back. Get him to the medical wing, Hamal ordered desperately. Now, Sina covered her mouth, trembling. Tendo cried. Barak's unconscious body was lifted by two guards, and as they carried him away, Sina whispered through her tears, Come back to us, Barak. Don't leave us now. The corridor echoed with the sound of her heart breaking, but the battle was not over yet. Barack's body went limp in the guard's arms, his head slumping to the side as they rushed him down the dim hallway. Blood streaked the front of his shirt, soaked into the torn fabric, leaving a dripping trail behind them. Each step echoed like a countdown, slow, heavy, terrifying. Sena followed close behind, trembling so violently her teeth chattered. She clutched Tendo against her chest, her breath ragged. The sight of Barack unconscious, this man who had stood like a mountain between her and death, shattered her in a way she never imagined possible. Hurry, Hamal barked, his voice tighter than she had ever heard it. Get him into the med bay. They burst into the mansion's medical wing, a pristine room lined with equipment, sterile lights, and emergency supplies. A team of doctors rushed forward. Lay him on the table. Get IV lines ready. We need to stabilize his blood pressure. Sena hovered near the doorway, unable to breathe, as they placed oxygen over Barack's face, inserting tubes, checking his heartbeat, cutting away the rest of his blood-soaked shirt. His chest, battered with bruises from the fight, rose shallow and weak. Is he going to die? Sena choked out. One doctor looked up briefly. We don't know yet. He's lost a lot of blood. He has cracked ribs. Possibly internal bleeding. Her knees buckled. The world tilted dangerously. Hamal caught her arm and steadied her. His voice softened. Sena, he's strong. He survived worse. No. Sena whispered, tears spilling. This time he wasn't fighting for himself. He was fighting for us. She stared at the man lying on the operating table, Barack Mufasa, a man she once feared, then distrusted, and eventually needed. A man who could have ignored her that night at the gate. A man who could have walked away from Econ's past. A man who had chosen instead to bleed for her child. Tendo whimpered softly, sensing her distress. She kissed his forehead shakily. It's okay, my love, she whispered through tears. Barack will be okay. He has to be. But inside, fear gnawed at her like fire. Doctors barked orders. Machines beeped in frantic rhythms. The room became a storm of movement, gloves snapping, metal clattering, voices rising and falling. Sena stood frozen, hugging Tendo, watching helplessly. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Hamal paced like a caged animal, muttering coordinates, checking his earpiece, coordinating with the guards. But even he kept glancing toward the surgical curtain, with worry etched deep into his features. Finally, the lead doctor stepped out. Sena's heart slammed against her ribs. Is he? He's alive, the doctor said. Her knees nearly gave way, but his condition is critical. He must rest. No stress. No sudden movements. No emotional shocks. Any of those could push him into cardiac arrest. Sena nodded rapidly, tears streaming. I'll take care of him. The doctor hesitated, glancing between Sena and Tendo. He asked for you before going under. Sena's breath caught. Me. Yes, you. The doctor's tone softened. You and the baby. Hamal exhaled shakily, relief breaking across his expression. Can I see him? Sena whispered. The doctor nodded. 1 minute only. Sena stepped toward the curtain, heart thundering. She pushed it aside gently, and her breath hitched. Barack lay on a hospital bed, pale as the sheets beneath him. Oxygen tubes rested in his nose. A heart monitor beeped steadily at his side. His chest rose faintly, each breath a fragile effort. But his face, even beaten, even bruised, still looked like strength, still looked like the man who had saved her life. Sena approached slowly, tears falling. Barack, she whispered, sinking onto the chair beside him. His eyelids fluttered. Is Sena, he murmured weakly, voice hoarse. She grabbed his hand, squeezing gently. I'm here. I'm right here. His gaze moved to Tendo, then back to her. Are you both safe? Her voice cracked. Because of you. You protected us. You almost died protecting us. A faint smile tugged at the corner of his lips. Worth it. Sena choked on a sob. Don't say that. Don't ever say that. We need you. Tendo needs you. Barack's eyes softened. His fingers brushed weakly against hers. I'm not going anywhere, he whispered. I promise you that. Her breath shuddered. She leaned down, resting her forehead against his hand. Please heal, Barack. Please. He closed his eyes, exhaling slowly, as if the simple touch of her skin eased his pain. But the moment shattered when the door burst open. A guard stumbled in. Hamal, there's movement outside the gate. Someone's trying to break through again. Hamal cursed softly. Cairo's backup. I knew he'd prepared a second wave. Sina's heartbeat quickened in terror. No, no, please, we can't. Barak's eyes snapped open. He tried to sit up, pain ripping through him. Stay down, the doctor barked. But Barak ignored him, gripping the bed rails. Sina, get Tendo to safety. The bunker. Now. Sina shook her head violently. I won't leave you. Barak's voice rose sharp-edged, despite his weakness. Sina, listen to me. I already lost. Ikan, she sobbed. I won't lose you too. Barak froze. Tendo cried softly, frightened by the shouting. Sina took a shaky breath. Her voice trembled, but her words came out clear. You said we were a family. Barak's expression softened painfully. You are my family. Then don't make me run again, she whispered. Not tonight. Hamal stepped between them. Sina, it's not safe out here. The second wave is heavier. More men, more weapons. But the bunker is secure. Go. Now. Sina looked at Barak, tears overflowing. I won't go unless you promise me you'll stay alive. Barak's gaze locked onto hers, raw, honest, vulnerable. I'll live, he whispered. I'll live because I want a future with you. Her breath caught. Tendo reached out a tiny hand toward Barak's. The baby's fingers brushed his knuckles, soft, trusting. Barak's eyes glistened with tears. For him, Barak murmured. For you, I'll survive this. Sina nodded slowly. Hamal carefully ushered her toward the door. She resisted at first, heart-tearing, but Barak lifted a weak hand. Sina, go. Protect our grandson. Her breath broke. I'll come back to you. He smiled faintly. I know. Hamal guided her out, and the guards sealed the medbay behind her. Sina hurried toward the bunker with her child tears streaming, whispering prayers through shaking lips. Behind her, Barak lay breathing in quiet agony, staring at the ceiling, preparing for the inevitable storm, waiting for dawn, waiting for her, and ready finally to fight for the future he wanted. A future with family, a future with love, a future with Tendo. By midnight, the mansion was on full lockdown again. By dawn, the authorities would arrive with the evidence. And by the time the sun rose, Barak Mufasa would either stand as the protector of his new family or die trying. In life, the deepest wounds are often carved, not by our enemies, but by our mistakes, our regrets, our silence, our pride. Barak learned too late that one moment of rejection can destroy an entire lifetime of possibilities. Yet life in its quiet mercy sometimes gives us a second chance wrapped in the most unexpected form. Tendo became the bridge between what Barak lost and what he could still protect. Sina became the reminder that love is not found, it is chosen, fought for, and nurtured. The true lesson is this. Family is not defined by blood alone, but by the courage to stand for one another, to choose forgiveness over fear, and to build hope from the ruins of the past. If this story touched your heart, share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us where you're watching from and what time it is there. And if you love emotional African folktale dramas, feel free to subscribe for more powerful stories.